Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Journey into Comics, a podcast about comic books, video games, movies, television, and everything nerd. With your hosts, Nate Phillips.
That's me.
Brandon Stone. And Shuddy Boy.
And I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode 66, if we are being 100% accurate, of Journey into Comics. It's me, your host, Nate Phillips, here today with no one. We will get to that news in a little bit. Let's kick things right off. I just want to, first of all, come on here onto my podcast on Journey into Comics and kind of formally apologize, okay? Now, even though my apology is essentially me apologizing for technology, I think it still needs to be said. Last episode on the Comic Club Part 3, Who Watches the Watchmen, we suffered some pretty rough and really hard to handle technical difficulties. Now, these technical difficulties were pretty consistent with Skype just kicking me off. Now, I know that, you guys probably still didn't mind, and we still had some listens, and that's, we appreciate it, but still, to me, it's not the quality or the style that I like to put out. And it genuinely bummed me out when I listened back to the episode, and I'm hearing, my frustration throughout the episode. I had a cold. I didn't talk about that on the show. I did in fact have a cold. I'm sure, Brando, Shuddy, and Seek were sitting there going, fuck, I just want to get a little bit of a rhythm going, and we can't because Skype keeps dropping. And whether that was my internet's fault or Skype itself's fault, I'm not sure. I do just want to lay it out there and be like, hey, folks, on behalf of Journey into Comics, on behalf of your host, Nate, here right now, I just am saying, I'm sorry, I have to tell you that I'm sorry, and I apologize for the lack of quality. I mean, it does just come back to quality. I will say I do need to give massive, humongous praises, because while it sounds really good considering, because Brandon is a motherfucking boss, and he edited that thing to make it sound really, really good. The thing with quality that I was bummed by is that I and everyone else could not get any kind of rhythm going. I would start talking, we would start making points, we would start discussing things, and then Skype would drop us out, and we lose our focus and have to get back into trying to discuss whatever book we were on. Hopefully, when the second half of the Who Watches the Watchmen episode comes out, I would say in the next, hopefully by the end of October, we're going to have that out for you guys. I think that's what we're all going to try to plan for. But when that comes out, I hope it's just a lot more well put together, and I hope that Skype doesn't fuck us, because it really sucked. I was really frustrated. Again, though, kudos to Brandon, because he just edited that thing together where it sounded really good considering all the problems we had, So anyways, I'll fill you guys in a little bit, update. I guess this is a good place to journal and discuss the going-ons of the project that Sarah and I have going on. So if you guys are new to Journey into Comics, first of all, welcome. But as a little bit of an update, in recent episodes, I've been talking about how my fiance and myself, our best friends, Rob and Veronica, have formed a band called Walk Among Us, that's kind of a tribute to all the good era of the Misfits, so Danzig and Michael Graves era, essentially. Upon us deciding we wanted to do this, really came with the announcement that we are actually going to be covering the entire Famous Monsters album, Kong to Kong, front to back. That's 18 songs. Now, here's the unconventional thing. I'm a guitar player. I've been a guitar player since I was 16 years old. Okay? I'm playing drums on this album, and to discuss that a little bit, and that's really what I want to get into, is playing the drums on this particular album. Now, I know there are a lot of really, really technically talented drummers, okay? There are so many that I could be studying. I am studying Dr. Chud from the Misfits. And it's hard. There are some really hard songs I have a lot of hard time with, and I really, sweat my nuts off and go as hard as I can to make them sound as good as they can, But I'm not settling for less. And it's really nice. This practice, we actually just had a practice today. It is Monday when I'm recording, by the way, folks. This isn't some delay from Sunday into Monday. Again, for all the you time travelers who are coming back and listening to this episode, it's whatever fucking day you want it to be at this point. And if it happens to be Monday, great. If not, well, so be it. We had some stuff go down in the Journey into Comics camp, and we had to take a moment to kind of take a step back and regroup a little bit here. And like I said, we're going to be getting to that here in a minute. I just wanted to first start this episode on a really high note. This past week, September 22nd, for all of you who want to keep score. On September 22nd, Brandon celebrated his birthday. I do believe it was his 29th birthday. So from all of us at Journey into Comics who aren't Brando, we do want to say happy birthday, buddy. We're glad to have you as a part of our family, obviously. You have contributed so much to this fucking show, brother. I mean, from me to Brando right now, outside of all of you listeners, like, Brando, I'm speaking to you right now, man. Okay, you're chilling with Wyatt, you're watching TV, or you're maybe playing video games. You got me on in the background, and I want you to hear my voice right now. Journey into Comics, the podcast we have now, the podcast these people all tune in and listen to, would not be the show it is today had you not become a part of it. Genuinely, I mean, wholeheartedly, you helped really launch this thing into being a thing, And folks, I'm not counting my chickens before I hatch, but we may have a big announcement before the end of the year, and it may shake some things up with Journey into Comics. And it's nothing bad. It's actually really great news. It's just it's a perspective thing, so I'm not jinxing it. That's all I can say. Again, Brando, happy birthday! Thank you for being awesome. Now, to kind of flip the script a little bit, I want to just real quick. Kind of give our listeners a little bit of an insight. The reason there's no Shuddy this week is actually because he suffered a death in his family. I told him just take the week off. I don't, I can handle the show without you, man. Just family is first and foremost. So I told him just take the week, do your thing, do whatever you got to do. Whenever Shuddy can come back, he'll be back, folks. That there's no concern there. We do just want to, as a group, and everybody who listens to the show, make sure to send your condolences to him. And it's rough. Life sucks because ultimately life ends in death, and you can't escape it. But moving on, let's talk about this past Sunday. It was the 26th of September for those of you who are time travelers yet again, and it was Batman Day. And let me tell you what, it's pretty cool to have one of your favorite superheroes of all time be recognized like that. And it was a madhouse, man. I swung by GameStop to pick up a couple of reserves I had of the Arkham Knight pop vinyls. And I got my Batman and my Harley Quinn. They look super cool. I'm just waiting on Scarecrow and Arkham Knight himself. But it was crazy. They were so busy, and everyone was there for different Batman-related things, it seemed. Whether they were buying games, pops, whether they were, pre-ordering something or trading in something for something. They had all kinds of deals, and you could get free comic books and all these kind of things. It was really cool. It's really great to see a superhero recognized, and I can't wait for the future where more great superheroes are recognized because, there are a lot of superheroes who, not on Batman's level, obviously, but that deserve some kind of special shout-out from the world to that superhero because, folks, ultimately, superheroes are a great way to escape from the reality of life. That's one thing I like to make sure to keep everyone reminded of as my words slip, is that this world can bring you down, but you have to find something that you can just sink your teeth into, and whether it could be a podcast, Journey into Comics, it could be a comic book, it could be collecting comic books, it could be video games, it could be pop vinyls, it could be reaction figures. Shout out to Anthony. His reaction set is ridiculous, folks, but that's aside the point. Let's get into something else that involves Batman, as we just talk about how great it is to have a cool superhero like the Bat. I recently started Season 2 of Gotham. Now, Gotham didn't really get a ton of traction on Journey into Comics last season of their show. Not particularly because I didn't want to talk about it. It's just that it was hard to stay tuned in week to week, so I felt compelled to not try to cover and be splotchy about it. Starting on the first week and talking about it, just like the first episode of Season 1 that Brando and I do believe Westicles talked about, is a good place to start. So Season 2 of Gotham, definitely a different tone. The entire episode is really cool. You've got Bruce. He's trying to break into this underground cave that he has found that's presumably his father's. You've got Penguin officially taking the rise of power. You have Barbara Gordon going to Arkham. You've got Jim Gordon becoming a beat cop, or a traffic cop. You've got all these little things going on, and all these little stories start to intricately weave themselves together right away. And I want to talk about this new character they brought on, Zardon. Okay, this big, bulky Zardon dude. Kind of reminded me of Bulk from Bulk and Scully from Power Rangers, He's a really weird, interesting character, and he actually played quite a pivotal role in I don't know how you'd say this, in the plot development for the show in Episode 1. If you're not watching Gotham, by the way, I'm sorry. There's probably going to be some spoilers here, as I did just say Barbara. Well, her name's Barbara Keene, but as you would probably know her, Barbara Gordon, are actually, she's actually going to Arkham, and you don't know why if you're not caught up on the show. So I want to start, though, with Zardon. So let me set the scene for you, and then we're actually going to hear a clip from the show, and we're actually probably going to hear a couple clips from the show today. We'll get to that. But to start, I want to let you guys hear the introduction of Zardon. He shows up on the street of Gotham, just in the middle of traffic, and he is crazy, and he's going towards Jim Gordon. And Jim Gordon, he tries to defuse the situation and saying, I don't want to have to kill, or I don't have to shoot you. It's just too much paperwork. And then Zardon fights him with swords, and it's a really great visual if you haven't seen it. It's really cool. But particularly, there's one thing that I know Shuddy wanted to talk about, and I also want to talk about. But the awesome music that was going on during the Zardon fight was so cool. It was this really neat, I would almost say Castlevania-esque music. Maybe that's a really bad descriptor, but we're going to hear it, so it doesn't necessarily matter. But what I'm going to play for you now is the little Zardon fight, so you can hear a little bit of the music. You can get an idea of the fight sequence that's happening. It was very interesting to me the way they set this season up, and we're going to continue to kind of work through all the different going-ons that this point in the show kind of spawn from this moment into the rest of the episode. So here it is, the Zardon-Gordon fight.
Now go.
Come on, bro. Let's go.
Gordon on the street corner. Here comes Zardon, charging at him.
I am Zardon, the Soul Reaper! The Soul Reaper!
Zard, drop the guns!
He just pulled out the sword. He's gonna fuck Gordon up.
Your primitive weapons cannot hurt me! Prepare to die, insect!
He just threw the lady.
Listen, I don't want to shoot you, man, all right? Too much paperwork, so why don't you just put the sword down?
Gordon's always going to want to fight, folks. So, that's like kind of like the starting point for the episode where things kind of, the shit proverbially hits the fan. So from there, Jim is still dealing with this Commissioner Loeb being a total dickhead, and he wants Loeb out, or he wants something to happen because he's sick of being this shitty beat cop. He wants to be Detective Jim Gordon. How can he become Commissioner Gordon if he never is a detective and is stuck on the streets, So he has no other choice, and he goes to Penguin. Jim Gordon confides in Penguin and says, hey, look, I need Loeb out, and, you're my friend, and you do owe me one, and that's what that is. And, Penguin says, sure, I'll take care of Loeb, I'll handle it. But it comes at a cost, and there is a group of gang members, or a gang, if you will, that has not paid their dues to the Penguin, and Penguin sends Gordon after him, and shockingly, Gordon actually kills one of the guys, which I found interesting, but he was doing it in self-defense, so as a good cop, I don't think it tarnishes who he is as a person. It does put some blood on his hands, though, but I mean, there was already blood on Jim Gordon's hands. Loeb gets confronted by the Penguin and some of his henchmen, and, then we get introduced, we're also introduced in the episode to the inmates at Arkham. And interestingly enough, as we've mentioned a couple times here on the show, the good friend of Mad Scientist Party Hour, Dustin Ybarra, is actually on the episode. And, not shocking because he's a great actor, but interestingly enough, he is almost working exclusively in scenes with the kid that plays Jerome, who may become what they'll call Gotham's Joker, quote unquote. Okay, and I could see it. He's a little too, what's the word I want to say here, folks? He's a little too Jim Carrey, like Ace Ventura in some mannerisms, but for the most part, the kid really pulls it off. So Jerome tells Barbara Keene, hey, Richard Sionis over there, great Easter egg, really, he can, he's going to want you because you're a pretty girl in prison. And you're going to need protection. So she yells to this bald prisoner, hey, come over here. And she goes, will you protect me and make sure no one hurts me? And if they try to hurt me, will you hurt them? And he's like, smitten with her because she chose him. And he's like, I'll totally, man, I'll do it, So that kind of thing happens. But then Richard Sionis actually starts talking to Barbara because Barbara finds out that Sionis can get her anything she wants in prison. And interestingly enough, what she wants in prison is a telephone to call Jim and say, hey, Jim, I didn't kill my parents. It wasn't my fault. Spoiler alert. And I didn't attack Lee, which is the love interest to Detective Gordon in the show. And we'll get to that in a minute as well. But, so that happens. Now, interesting, here's where the paths kind of cross. Zardon is finally coming to Arkham, and when he gets in there, this potion that he had drank from, I can't remember the guy's name. I want to say it's Leon or something, but I digress. He's going to become a major player, and actually I have a couple theories about him that we're also going to talk about. But this potion that he drinks, he essentially belches out, and it knocks out all the prisoners that are in Arkham. Now, there are the Maniacs, and there are 6 specific people from the Maniacs that get picked to, become a part of this very special experiment with this very new, symbolic character who's very much like a member of society, an upstanding citizen. Imagine kind of like Harvey Dent-esque character who's not afraid to show his face in public, but behind closed doors is also getting his hands extraordinarily dirty. So he kind of has this plan, and we don't really know the details of the plan yet because it kind of shut off before the episode ended. But I will say, in the scene where he's got the Maniacs tied down, that scene is introduced with Dustin Ybarra's first line, and I know I promised Shuddy that I'd play it for the audience. So if you're not watching Gotham, here's Dustin on Gotham, and he says his first line, and then after he says his first line, the person he's interacting with is Gotham's Joker. It's a quick little clip here. If it'll play.
What the hell is this place? In Arkham, anyhow. Things are looking up.
So it ain't Arkham anyhow, things are looking up is the Joker, and what the hell is this place was Dustin. So huge shout out to Dustin. It would be super cool in my own humble opinion, and I'm sure our listeners would agree, to have Dustin on our show sometime to discuss his character, maybe after he's done with the series or something, or just discuss Batman in general. I mean, it's a great character, and it's a character that, again, I love to celebrate and talk about. He's one of my favorites. So let's talk about a few little tidbits here. The guy who has captured the Maniacs. Some people have been led to believe, and there's no official proof, that this is the early introduction of a TV version of the Court of Owls. This season is Gotham Season 2, Rise of the Villains, so that probably means we're going to get a lot more different kinds of villain, different characteristics of villains. Should be interesting, right? So the Court of Owls, Scott Snyder wrote them. Essentially, they have been in Batman's history forever. And the way he wrote it in was so clever to where it just makes sense with canon that they've always been in Gotham and you never knew about them, you know. And the Court of Owls is this time-honored tradition, and you know, it's a great story. If you have not read the Court of Owls storyline from Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, please go pick up that graphic novel. It will not disappoint whatsoever. And then while you're at it, go pick up the Death in the Family graphic novel that Capullo and Snyder did in the second run of that Batman series. Both are totally phenomenal, and you guys will love it. So I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing Court of Owls. We'll see how that goes. I also want to say, and I'm going to pull up their names because I want to make sure that I don't, it would be rude of me to fuck them up, you know, guys? Like, it would just be kind of snarky, I guess, is a word or a phrase, if you will. What I'm going to talk about is more Gotham stuff real quick before we get off here. And and you know what's crazy, folks? I have a huge announcement that's coming in a few weeks. And when this announcement gets dropped, and it's not the announcement I talked about earlier, this is a different announcement that'll definitely be good news, and it'll definitely shake the grounds of Journey into Comics yet again. I'm so looking forward to talking about that with all of you. This is what I want to say about Gotham, getting back to my, what's the word in my head here? Getting back to my main point, if you will. Co-stars Ben McKenzie, he's the guy that plays Jim Gordon, and Marina Basaran, I'm not sure how you say her last name, are planning to get married, but, well, I guess actually they're pregnant. They're having a baby together, and they plan on getting married, and I think it's awesome. They have legitimate great on-screen chemistry, and there's, you know, sometimes in Hollywood things work out nicely, and, you know, some TV stars find real, genuine love with each other, and this is cool. I mean, I'm all for them, being a couple. I guess some people freak out about it. It's weird to me, you know. If you're an actor, why can't you fall in love with your coworker? I mean, it happens in the real world all the time. I don't get why celebrities are scrutinized when relationships don't work. Like what? Okay, so here's my question. If you and some person are working at the same place and you have a lot of same interests and you get along great and it's very noticeable that you have chemistry, and then you go out and then things kind of don't work out because not every relationship's going to work out how you want it to. And if that happens at McDonald's, no one gives a fuck. No one's like, hey, Joe Schmo and fucking Courtney broke up. You know, it's none of that shit. But because they're celebrities, because they're always in the public eye, they're always scrutinized no matter what they're doing. I mean, they could be giving fucking money to kids in Africa or some shit. And you know what? They'd still be scrutinized for something. So I think, in my own humble opinion, that there is some unfair treatment to celebrities. But I digress. Let's move forward. I will say, I was thinking about talking a little bit about the Easter eggs in the episode of Gotham, so I guess maybe we'll do that. Although Zardon is not something from the comics, people thought that, like I said, people doing the bidding of someone who's a high authority figure, essentially that's setting up Court of Owls, as I said before. Again, we hear the words of Richard Sionis. he is tied to the family of Black Mask being a great Batman villain. There's a great nod to Selena Kyle becoming Catwoman, as I do believe Loeb says. It's like having a... Oh, no. I think it's Penguin who says it's like having a cat around the house. You know, Loeb retired, which again, that means that we're getting closer to Gordon becoming Commissioner Gordon. And also, with Loeb retiring, that means there's a possibility that we could see Calendar Man show up in Gotham and actually kill Loeb like he did in the comics. Let's see. There's a note from Thomas Wayne to Bruce, and this is what comicbook.com had to say. While this one wasn't hand-delivered by The Flash, pity, it seems relevant that so soon after Flashpoint we get a story in which Bruce's father knowingly puts himself in danger's path and leaves Bruce a note explaining his actions and giving his son a sense of purpose, which is exactly what happens in the episode. And I didn't mention that. One thing real quick I did kind of leave as a cliffhanger, is that Bruce creates a bomb and him and Alfred actually blow up this part of under Wayne Manor so they can find out what's going on. And he does find out the password in the note, which was Bruce. And he feels like a dumbass because he didn't put his own name in it, which, come on now. You got to try every name that your dad or family member, would have possibly used, and that even includes yourself. And, there was a little tiny nod to Tigress in that episode too, which was pretty rad. So where do we want to go from here, folks? What do we want to talk about? I think I want to move on to Marvel a little bit. I mean, I've covered a lot of DC. It's been the first, 20-some minutes of the episode. I don't know if you guys saw some really cool teaser trailers, Jessica Jones trailers. Jessica Jones is coming to Netflix, I think, in December, or in October or November, I want to say. It's soon. It's very soon. We're near the time that Jessica Jones will be on Netflix. It looked great. I love, what the hell is her name? Kristen Ritter. I love how they've got her super strength, and that the alarm clock's at 2:59 in the teaser, and then when it reaches 3 and her alarm goes off, she just grabs it and crushes it to nothing. It's not really nothing. I mean, there are parts there, but she still crushes the shit out of it. It's going to be exciting to see her, and then eventually Matt Murdock interact, and then eventually Luke Cage, and then eventually Iron Fist, and then eventually the Defenders will happen. And we're on pace for that, I'd say, by 2018. I'm sure they're going to probably try to get the Defenders ready leading into the Infinity War that Marvel has planned for their cinematic universe. Speaking of their cinematic universe, Wesley Snipes in talks still to this day with Marvel to bring the Blade character that he created back, or maybe start him new in the cinematic universe. The only sad thing is, man, Snipes is so old. I mean, no offense to him. He's not the guy he was when he did the first Blade movie or the second Blade movie or even Trinity. He's gotten older. He even went to prison, So how they would keep the longevity of the Blade character, unless they intend on killing him off, which could be interesting, but I just, it's one of those weird things. If you cast a young actor, you can get some long life out of him, but can you recapture the essence that Wesley Snipes had as Blade? And that's the real question. To me, I think the answer is no, but maybe to you the answer is yes. I'm not even sure, If the answer is yes, you know what I want you to do? I want you to get a hold of us. You can go to Journey into Comics podcast@gmail.com. Email us there. Find us on Facebook. One thing, can I mention this? And I'm not trying to drive a dead horse to death, okay? But I need to mention that if every single one of our fans could do this one awesome favor for us, I would totally appreciate it. And I know I will be able to tell whether or not anybody has done this, any of our listeners, okay, who are, not friends of the show. But even friends of the show, if you haven't done this yet, please indulge us. If you go to the Journey into Comics Facebook page, you can actually click Invite Friends to Like Page, and you can invite your entire friends list. You do have to click them one at a time. I will give you the fair warning, but we will just genuinely, heartfeltedly appreciate it. If this was done by half of our listeners, we could easily reach 1,000 likes, and that would just be really cool, to have that kind of reach across the world and have a bunch more different new people. I mean, again, I said this forever and a day ago. How cool would it be if Journey into Comics united you and someone else? You're at work, you don't really have a lot in common with this person, and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, and I listen to this one podcast about comics called, and the guy's like, Journey into Comics? No fucking way. Me too, man. That's super rad. And then you guys start chit-chatting about what the show is. That's what I want. I want to open a dialogue with people. People are so stuck up their own asses, always on their damn cell phones 24/7, ignoring people, getting motherfucking sucked in, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Let's move on to The Walking Dead. Now, we have on and off covered The Walking Dead a little bit, but this is just the one thing that I've been saying it. I feel like I'm Randy Quaid in Independence Day. I've been saying it for 10 damn years, ain't I been saying it, Miguel? And the aliens are coming down. Anyways, so Negan is coming to The Walking Dead. Now, that's not like some sort of hyper-official thing that's, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, been openly discussed, and, Robert Kirkman's come out and been like, yes, without a question, Negan is coming to The Walking Dead, folks. Be excited, okay? That's not at all what happened. But I'm going to read you exactly the casting list for the character known as Oren, okay? Here's the description. They're looking for someone in their 30s to mid-40s, a physically imposing, characteristic, brutal, smart, ferocious, frightening, hilarious, inappropriate, oddly friendly, fun-loving sociopath that is both a leader of men and a killer of men. He has both a practical and emotional intelligence. He's a brilliant strategist. He's pure, dangerous, murderous, often gleeful id that still has both discipline and a code. He has a temper that can vaporize people. He is truly one of the strongest personalities ever. Pretty sure that's Negan. Now, they're casting Negan for the final episode of Season 6. I think I'm excited to have Negan. I'm really excited. I'm really nervous, too. How can you bring Negan to TV? And if that's the case, that means it looks like one of the major characters. I'm looking at you, Daryl Dixon. I'm looking at you, Daryl Dixon. You better fucking be the one, not Glenn. One major character from The Walking Dead. Major. And I'm talking Atlanta 5. We're down to 5 people left from Atlanta. Here are the original 5 from Atlanta. You've got Rick, Carl, Daryl, Carol, and Glenn. That's the original 5. That's the final 5 from Atlanta. Guess what? One of them is going down, and we're going to be at the final 4. Atlanta's final 4. And then I think it's going to just be like pretty easy pickings. Carol, what one, doesn't die at the end of Season 6. And Rick and Carl will inevitably live forever because why wouldn't they? They carry the show. Thomas Paine, who I'm pulling up some stuff about. I'm learning who the hell he is. That's so weird. Oh, he's been in... Okay, so this actor named Tom Paine, has been on The Physician, Waterloo Road, and Skins. And he has officially been cast as Jesus for The Walking Dead. Paul Monroe, Jesus. I am so excited we're going to finally get to see Jesus on the screen. He did appear in The Walking Dead 91. Yeah, 91. And he's been a major influence ever since in the comics, and I really love the character. So to see him be brought to television is going to be really fucking cool, honestly. Moving forward, you know what I'm excited to talk about, folks? This is something that doesn't get talked about enough on Journey into Comics, and that's because our cohort, well, they don't watch the show, or Brandon's way behind and Shuddy doesn't watch the show, or something to that effect. But I feel like I'm the only person at Journey into Comics here that watches Doctor Who and absolutely adores it. It's one of my absolute favorite shows. Let me tell you what, they came out swinging this season. Last week was the season premiere, The Magician's Apprentice, and then this week was the second half of the 2-parter, The Witch is Familiar. And this 2-part story, right out of the motherfucking gate, kicks you in your teeth, and it essentially says, if you're not at least new series OG fandom, and I'm talking all the way back to Christopher Eccleston, the 9th Doctor in the first season in the 2005 rebirth of Doctor Who, pretty much says fuck you to the fandom, because if you don't know about it and you're a new fan and you're a new fanboy who just liked Matt Smith and has no fucking clue about anything that happened before, they go for the jugular, and they almost, in my opinion, had to. They pretty much start this season somewhere, I would say, months after, in the scheme of things, I guess you'd say, after season 4 of New Who. And they bring back Davros. And it's so fucking cool, and it was such a great, well-told story, and the story that the Doctor essentially had a chance to save Davros as a little boy, and with these little hand mines that can grab you and blow up. So the Doctor hears that this kid's name is Davros, and he just leaves him because he knows. The 12th Doctor remembered Davros from all the other times he had fought him. Going back in time and having a chance to save Davros, he said, no, I can't do that, I mean, that's a chance to kill my enemy right there where he sits. And as a kid, no less. And it haunted the Doctor, and the Doctor, is ready to just throw in the towel and give it up. And he's just going and traveling through time and kind of gallivanting and throwing the huge, I'm dying, fuck it party, essentially. So, Missy, who is the master, but because he killed himself, he regenerated into a female Time Lord. That's a part of Doctor Who lore. If you seppuku and decide to end your own life, you become a opposite gender Time Lady, I guess you'd say. So she's a blast. Michelle Gomez playing Missy is so much fun. She's just such a live and bubbly character and hilarious, and the way she flirts with the Doctors, funny and cute, and then it's also a little strange because you're like, you were a dude once, but you have nice boobies, it kind of seems, even though you can't really see them. So it's a really great show. Seriously, the two-parter in the beginning of the season, right out the gate, they're just saying, we're coming to get you. And they're not playing games, and they want to write the best possible season they can, it seems. Now, here's something crazy. In an upcoming episode of Doctor Who, Corey Taylor, that's the lead singer of Slipknot and Stone Sour both, is actually voicing one of the villains that's going up against the Doctor. And that's really fucking cool for me because, first of all, I love Doctor Who, so when a celebrity that I think is bad as fuck, or a musician who I think is bad as fuck, or someone who I look up to, shows that they also like Doctor Who, and then they get that kind of role. I mean, Corey Taylor is kind of an eclectic dude when it comes to what kind of appearances he'll make, and for him to do something kind of out of his bubble and do acting is huge. And he's doing like weird, like demonic growls and shit, and probably saying some dark, twisted words, but you know what? That's fucking cool, in my humble opinion, and I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table for Doctor Who. So yeah, to not spoil this, the second half of Doctor Who, The Witch is Familiar, the story does resolve. Clara ends up in a Dalek, which is really fun, and there's some really crazy shit that happens there, and you kind of get to see inside the mind of a Dalek yet again. I just love Doctor Who, guys. If you don't watch Doctor Who, it's on Netflix. Start it. The 2005 season 1 with the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston. Watch all the way through. Because you know what? Here's the thing. Oh, they speak British. Grow the fuck up. Literally grow the actual fuck up. It's a fucking country. The story is really fucking good and really well put together. And it does a really good job of always constantly evolving itself so that it's entertaining and not boring and bland. Are there a couple clunker episodes in there? Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. There are a few episodes that are really, really slow in a few seasons. But there are some fucking episodes that are really slow in Arrow and Flash. Well, not Flash. In Arrow in the first season, So just be smart, be intelligent, use your brains. There's no reason to discriminate against the Brits because they talk funny. Guess what? They were here first. We're actually not here first. As shocking as that is to some of you Americans who are listening to our show, the Brits were here first, and then I don't know where Canadians came from, but they're awesome. They're super nice. I love everybody. They're just, everybody's cool. But the Brits were here first. So that's that. Now, keeping it in the vein of sci-fi, moving from my favorite show, well, one of my favorite shows, to probably my favorite movie franchise of all time, Star Wars. Do you guys remember when Angry Nate was on the podcast? Angry Nate decided to rant against the Fantastic Four. Well, he's back. This time I need to air grievances on a rumor. And usually I don't address rumors like this because I tend to just go, okay, yeah, that'll never happen. They could never be so stupid. But there's like a 1% chance that Disney and Star Wars could be this stupid. And if they do it, I'm not going to be happy. So here we go. There's a rumor that has been started, and I need to address it. My name is Nate. I am angry right now, okay? And I'm calm. I'm starting off calm. But I'm not going to be calm the whole fucking time, okay? You need to fucking just think about it for a fucking second, okay? I'm not just the chillest motherfucker there is, okay? And yeah, oh, I'm sorry, you can't listen to this at work because I'm saying fuck all the fucking time. Wear headphones, use your fucking brain. Okay, let's get real. There's a rumor that I'm addressing right now that Hayden Christensen will return to Star Wars for Star Wars Episode VIII, whatever the subtitle is. Disney, I'm talking directly to you and your brand Star Wars, because it's now your brand Star Wars, okay? Episode VII, The Force Awakens, looks bad as fuck. Great concept, has some great ideas. There's a theory we're going to touch on in a minute. Well, not Angry Nate's going to touch on it. I'm pissed off, so let's discuss it. Disney, I'm being so peaceful with you right now. I'm trying to just be fucking cool because you do little kid stuff, so I feel like maybe you have the mentality of a child. Hayden Christensen, really? The guy who played a shitty half-wit Anakin Skywalker who whined and cried like a little baby all the goddamn time. Okay, fuck that, man. Use your brains. You don't need Hayden Christensen to continue the brand. You don't need Hayden Christensen to make the movies better. Write good, well thought out fucking stories with the characters you're building in Episode 7, and fucking do not ever even consider Hayden Christensen coming back to do anything. To me, it's the biggest fucking disgrace that moron half-wit George Lucas went, oh, I should just remaster these movies until they're fucking pounded into the goddamn dirt, and decided it was his best interest to put fucking Hayden Christensen next to fucking Alec McGuinness and the fucking Yoda, Spirit Yoda. Like, are you kidding me right now? You put Hayden Christensen in Return of the Jedi, a movie I think that came out before he was born, or maybe right around the time he was born. Are you fucking serious, dudes? Really? You made Darth Vader scream no? Really? Like, come on, man. I don't mind the do-back so much. I do mind how in Return of the Jedi there's that stupid fucking singing routine you decided to add. Like, that fucking added anything to the fucking movie. I don't want a fucking musical. George Lucas, I don't want a fucking musical. But I'm done bitching about you, George Lucas. I'm issuing a statement right now. Again, Disney, this is you. Hayden Christensen needs to stay as far the fuck away from Star Wars as possible, okay? And if you fuck this up, I'm not saying that I'll be done, but I'll probably be done. I'm sorry. That's just the way things are. That's a series I really, really adore. And you're going to fuck with it. And if you fuck with it and make it bad, shame on you. If you fuck it up and make it terrible, there's no coming back from that. There's no amount of saving that can be done there. Think about that for a second. Just think about that for a goddamn minute, okay? You want to put a guy who most people have resistance against anyways in a role undisclosed. I think it's a piss poor choice. So let's discuss this. I'm going to give the fucking whatever, this piece of shit mic back to not Angry Nate. Fucking goofy, stupid motherfucker. He's going to take it and he's going to tell you some shit. But again, fuck you, Disney, if you think about bringing this stupid fuck into our universe, and fuck you, Star Wars, if you bring him back into our universe. And I might be pissing some people off right now. And you know what? Angry Nate doesn't give a shit, man. My opinion is that the sacredness, and I mean that word with as much legitimacy as humanly possible, the level of pure, unexplainable holy ground that is the original Star Wars trilogy, than the abomination that was the prequels. By the way, we need to talk about that too. Let's bring that up next, and then we'll finish with my last point on Kylo Ren and a theory that I've heard that's pretty interesting. So let's talk about this right now, folks. There is something called Machete Order for Star Wars, and I'm going to explain to you Machete Order, and then I want everybody who's listening to this show to... Oh, by the way, it's not Angry Nate. I'm back. I took the mic from him. He was scaring me, by the way. I was not cool with that. He was yelling way too much. There's something called Machete Order. It's a Star Wars thing, and I'm about to explain it to you. And Danny Trejo came up with it, as far as I know. And it's how you should watch the Star Wars movies, all 6 being considered, while maintaining the allure and secrecy that is the main spoiler reveal that Vader is Luke's father, that Anakin is Luke's father, okay, in Episode 5. So I'm going to tell you machete order, and then I'm going to explain how it works and why it works the way it works. And then I want you guys to all go and watch it and enjoy. This is machete order. You're going to watch A New Hope first. That's Episode 4. That's the original OG Star Wars. You're going to watch that first. Then you're going to watch Empire Strikes Back, okay? Then you're going to watch Episode 2, which was Attack of the Clones, and you're going to want to watch Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Then you're going to watch Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, and that is machete order. Notice anything?
No, what did we not notice, Nate? Please tell us.
Thanks, audience, for responding. Here's what you didn't notice. Well, you probably did notice. There was no Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Not at all. Now, while Darth Maul's pretty cool, Qui-Gon Jinn's not bad, while all those things are true, Episode 1 is really unnecessary. It's a lot of filler, no killer. There's not a lot of fun. I mean, really great moments. There's a really overly drawn-out action sequence that doesn't further the plot any. I'm looking at you, podcast race, or podcast, pod racers. I said podcast race. Jesus Christ. The word pod is so in my head. Okay, so the pod race, boring. I mean, it's interesting, but it didn't further the plot any. But I digress. So why do we do this the way we do it? First of all, you watch Episode 4 first because it's the first movie in the series. Then you watch Episode 5 second. You find out that Vader's Luke's father for the first time, so that allure is there. Then you watch Episodes 2 and 3 as if they were a flashback, okay? Episode 2's crawl at the beginning of the movie will give you everything you need to know in regards to what happened in Episode 1. It'll literally lay out everything that happened in Episode 1 that you missed, and you don't have to fuck with having to deal with stupid-ass Jar Jar, who ends up barely getting any lines in Episodes 2 and 3. So you watch Episodes 2 and 3, you get to see the literal change of who Anakin Skywalker is, okay? So you see Vader as Vader is, okay? Vader is Luke's father. Anakin, kind of normal. Anakin goes crazy. Then you finish up with 6, where now you've seen the flashback of who Anakin was, good then turned evil. Him being selfless and saving Luke and sacrificing himself during the fight with the Emperor literally is then even more poignant because you've seen the flashbacks. You know who he was, you see who he becomes, you see him sacrifice himself, and that's what Anakin would have done. So anyways, we get back to Episode 6 where, as you understand, the reason that Vader takes his mask off is because he's become Anakin again. His last act of goodness is what makes him become a Force spirit, if you will. And unfortunately, we do, if you have the remastered versions or what have you, we do unfortunately see Hayden Christensen as that Anakin, which doesn't necessarily make sense when the old Anakin did the last act of goodness. His last act was as an old dying Vader, and is the final act of goodness. Now, beautiful segue, because yes, Vader dies. If you never seen Star Wars, I apologize for that humongous, gigantic, enormous spoiler. Here's the fact. Vader's death is very important. Why is that? Because now in Episode 7, what is believed to be the case is that Kylo Ren, who is the new Sith master, maybe he's a Sith apprentice, maybe he's a Sith rogue, maybe he's a new kind of Sith. We don't know what he is. But there's a theory that he is obsessed, 100% obsessed with Anakin and with Vader, and he wants to resurrect or clone Anakin Skywalker. So back to what I was saying about Vader and Kylo Ren. So there's this theory. Kylo Ren is trying to resurrect and bring back from the dead Darth Vader. One thing that is noticed, some people have rumored that the Kylo Ren pop vinyl, that is actually a hoodless pop vinyl, he doesn't have his hood up like in the trailer, reveals that his helmet on the back is very similar to Vader's, and it looks beat up, almost as if he took Darth Vader's helmet that you see in the trailer that is found, you know, the one that's all crumpled up and looks awful, and he actually used it for his own look, okay? So with that being said, there's another theory that maybe it's not that he's trying to actually resurrect Vader, but he's actually trying to make Luke turn to the dark side and fulfill Anakin's prophecy and the legacy that Anakin was supposed to be leaving behind. So essentially an old man, Luke Skywalker, being taunted and tasked to turn evil, which could be an interesting story as well. There are so many different crazy theories. December is almost 2 months away. We're nearing on less than 2 months. That's ridiculous, folks. We're going to have new Star Wars soon. We're going to do a big, gigantic special on Star Wars, me, Brandon, and whoever else wants to be a part of that show. Maybe we'll get Kevin on again. That would be really fun, I think. Maybe Kevin, me, Brando, and Shuddy can sit down and just do an episode. That's my pitch. I'm saying it here first. I'll talk to Shuddy and Kevin about it later. Anyways, guys, you know what? To be quite honest, this episode's probably going to be pretty short. I am pretty fucking exhausted. I did have a huge practice today. We jammed almost all the songs that were playing on the set. I literally exhausted myself. You know what? I said, I can't go a week without doing a podcast. There's a very specific number that we're trying to reach at a very specific time. And if we do it right, it would be the coolest thing for us. But anyways, I digress. I want to leave you guys with this final thing. I want to say this, and I'm being so fucking serious, okay? And I'm going to just be very calm and to the point. If you walk into a business 2 minutes before they intend to close, I don't care how nice you are. I don't care how fun and cool and genuinely funny you are. You're an asshole. Stop that shit. People are trying to go home to their fucking families, and you not having the fucking common courtesy and decency to fucking look on a door or look what they're on the internet and see what time they close and go, oh, it would probably be a dumb idea to go in there 2 minutes before they're closing because they're probably trying to get the fuck out. You're an asshole. Go away. Stop it. Society, stop being shitty to each other and use some fucking common sense for once. That's what I want you guys to take away from episode 66. Use your fucking common sense, okay? That's what I'm saying, okay? Other than that, folks, I don't really have anything. I mean, I guess I could talk about the Ghostbusters cameos. They are really trying hard to get every single person that they can as a special appearance and cameo appearance for the new Ghostbusters movies. I mean, Bill Murray has done a thing. Sigourney Weaver has now done a thing. I think Ernie Hudson has done his thing. Annie Potts has filmed a little ditty. I want to say that Aykroyd has done something. Maybe not. That might not be true. If not, I'm sorry. But it seems like they're trying to get as many original cast members to make special cameo appearances. Maybe the guy that played Walter Peck will show up. Yes, this man has no dick. That's just the fun facts, folks. Anyways, you know what I'm also curious about? I know I told you I'd leave you with the people are assholes thing, and I lied. I can't leave on a negative note. I have to leave on a... you guys never found... No one ever got a hold of us. No one ever contacted us or came to any conclusions on what our episode 64 Easter egg was. No one found it. It blows my mind, too, because it's so obvious. Maybe at some point Brandon and I can reveal that, but that's kind of up to him. Other than that, folks, I guess I'll get the plugs out of the way. As always, you can check us out at Journey to Comics on Instagram. That's where we post a lot of stuff from our different collections. I need to give Shuddy the username and password so he can start putting in for his collection as well, so we can see some of his cool shit also. You can check us out on Facebook, Journey to Comics Podcast. Just search it on Facebook in the search bar. It's real easy. You can like us, and then you can tell your friends to like us, and hopefully they will. And if you send it to all your friends, guess what? I'd say like 20% of your friends are probably going to click it, and that's fucking cool, because that's more exposure, that's more conversation you can have with your friends. I'm working on a new game. I'll talk about that in a minute after I get the plugs out of the way. I don't want to jump the gun too much. You can check us out on Twitter at JIC Podcast. Mostly it's just going to be seeing where I've done periscopes and random weird shit I've put in to try to get people to watch them. and sometimes I do fun, interesting stuff on Periscope. You can check us out on Twitter and Periscope, both at JIC Podcast. You can check me out on Instagram at Draxis, that's DRAXSIS_rocker, ROCKER. Brando at Brandom Games. Shuddy Boy at Shuddy Boy on both Twitter and Instagram. And if you can find us anywhere else, that's cool. Again, you can always send your emails to journeyintocomicspodcast@gmail.com. And that is all. I did say I was going to talk about a game. I think it's a little spoilerific since I haven't brought it up with the dudes. So, sorry folks, you're just going to kind of be left with that cliffhanger. Until next time, I'm Nate. Again, thank you so fucking much for listening to this episode of Journey into Comics. Take care of yourselves and each other. Later.